All right. Hey, guys, what's up? It's John Nelson, and you're listening to the Starting Block Podcast. We apparently have some audio issues, and we're just going to skip the intro music today and kind of get right to it. But, yeah, guys, this is the Starting Block Podcast. If you're new, we appreciate you joining the show. Here is how we operate. We are slightly different than your standard podcast, all right? We actually have multiple shows within the show, all right? Now, the first type of episode you'll hear from us, that's where my co-host and I, Chris Scarborough. Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Good afternoon, guys.
This is the first episode is a Q&A where Chris and I will take the questions you guys submit to us about athletic training, rehab, the neuro voodoo stuff, nutrition, anything you guys want to know in the field of athletic performance, and we'll tackle that. Chris, where can they submit the questions?
Info at startingblockpodcast.com.
So that is first episode. The second type, which is also the another bi-weekly episode, is going to be our guest interview. And that is essentially like every other podcast on the planet. That's where we're going to bring in our friends and colleagues from across the country, across the globe. They're going to share their stories of how they win, what they do with their clients, their patients, their athletes. And like I always say, it's ultimately just an awesome opportunity for our audience to connect with like-minded individuals that share the same core values and mission that we do. That is also the episode we have today, and we'll bring our guests on here in just a second. But the final episode you'll get from us is going to be that quarterly episode, that Friday Fire Fact. It's about 10 to 20 minutes of me just kind of brain dumping on you a little bit, talking about something related to our field, but maybe just not specifically about performance. Maybe it's more motivational or something that happened in my facility, and just something, a lesson that you coaches can take and apply to your daily life, and hopefully helps you win and improve in your career. That is our episode breakdown. We don't run ads on the show, so we do ask that you pay your dues and share the show. We pay for all this out of pocket. We do this for free. It does cost some money and some time, and we just ask that if you get value out of this, just to do us a solid, bring us a friend, share the show, help us spread this message. That's what this is all about, is trying to help our communities and our country win, because that's what we desperately need. So I think that's all the housekeeping that we got. I didn't miss anything, did I, Chris?
I believe you got it all, John.
I think we got it. All right. So without further ado, we are pleased to be joined back again with Mr. David Buer. Hey, David. What's up, man?
Hey, guys. Pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Great to have
David
you.
is bringing a guest as well. So our other guest is former University of Georgia running back and current NFL free agent, Mr. Elijah Holyfield. What's up, bro?
What's
Great
good?
to have you, man. Great to have you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you guys for having me as well.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely appreciate you taking the time to join us. I'm pretty excited to hear about your story and and kind of learn a little bit about what you've been doing with David, all these years. But yeah, man. So let's just start out real quick about career wise. So tell the audience just a little bit about you. Kind of where you're from, where you played ball, and your story there, and then we'll get into the training stuff maybe a little later.
I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. Born and raised. Been playing football since I was 4 years old. Always been my first love. Played through high school. Got an opportunity to go to the University of Georgia. Played 3 years there. Was an SEC champion my sophomore year. Lost in the SEC championship my junior year. Was a national championship runner-up my sophomore year as well. Got an opportunity to go to the NFL after my junior year. Went undrafted and got to play for the Panthers, the Eagles, and the Bengals. It's all been a great experience, and now I'm a free agent, looking to, get another opportunity to play.
Yeah. Well, there'll definitely be an opportunity there. Bengals actually had a good win last night, too. I know this recording will come out a little bit later, but we're recording this the day after the Bengals-Jags played. But, yeah, actually, my wife and I were kind of joking about that. Like, I thought it was just kind of funny. Like, I didn't really ever imagine myself watching Monday Night Football with the Bengals and Jags playing, both with backup quarterbacks. But, hey, it turned out to be a hell of a game.
Yeah, hell of a game, man. And actually, they got Jake Brown, and me and him are good friends, so it was good to see him get his opportunity and do well.
Yeah. He balled out. Where is he from again?
He's from Washington, so he's from Washington. Went undrafted and has had a very similar career to mine. Hasn't really got his opportunity and stuff, and a couple guys went down, and he prepared, and now look at him.
Yeah, he stepped up, man. He had a really good game for sure.
Absolutely.
So yeah, there's definitely opportunities out there. So how did you? Because I heard about you through through David. Chris actually introduced me to David. But how did you and David connect? Where did y'all's relationship begin?
So me and David met after I was out of college, right after I had got done with the combine. Didn't do as well as I wanted to do in the combine, so was looking for things to kind of give me the extra step and get ready for my pro day. So my agent, had reached out to me and was like, I know a guy who does some training, and his results happen very fast. And didn't really give me much more than that. So he kind of brought me in one day, and I got to meet David. We talked a little bit and kind of jumped right in. And it was kind of like one of those things where he was like, either you're gonna stop after day one or you're gonna love it. And I did it the first day, and I've been locked in ever since. And me and him have been in step ever since.
Yeah, cool.
So where do you notice then, okay, after working with David, first of all, what are some of the differences from, say, David's approach versus, say, a collegiate strength room, weight room approach,
Like
or
an,
just
an
a traditional
SEC program, yeah. I
yeah,
mean,
or
Yes.
even a pro, pro full. I mean, what's the difference? What do you notice as a professional athlete? What are the differences
Uh,
between what this system brings to the table versus a more traditional approach?
Well, I think the main thing that kind of caught me was, well, when I came in, I thought of myself as a really hard worker, as like the hardest worker in the room. Always thought of myself like that. And then when I came in, I asked him like, what is this system going to help me do? When am I going to get out of it? And he looked at me. He said, "You'll get out of it whatever you put into it." And when he said that, I kind of was like, I mean, okay. So when he made me do the first exercise, and I stopped and I looked at his face, thinking like, oh, that had to be long. And I looked at his face and it was just nothing. It kind of made me like rethink, like, oh, well, maybe I'm not as hard. Like maybe I'm not pushing myself as much as I thought I was. And I think that's what's really connected me the most. It's just in every other system, there is a stopping point. There is like a peak. There is no more where you can go. With this system, it's kind of just you can go as much as you want to go. However much you're willing to put into it, you can get that much out of it. So it's never a stopping point to it. You can always keep going, and that's something that intrigues me.
so that's an interesting statement that you said most systems have a stopping point. And so I want to take that and also what you said, you didn't perform as well as you'd hoped at the combine. And I'll also preface in saying like, this is by no means ever a knock on, University of Georgia strength staff or anybody else. Like everybody in our industry is so, it's a pissing contest, an ego thing, and that's just not how we are. So like, I have great respect for all of them. But like your combine numbers, okay? So, you put up 26 reps on the bench, you got a 29.5-inch vertical, what a 9-10 broad jump, and I think you ran a 4.7. So like, obviously those are phenomenal numbers. What were you expecting to put out? And then do you think like the system, like what you were doing prior, like you stopped progressing? Does that make sense?
Yes, I would definitely say I actually didn't train with them after
Okay.
for the combine. I trained with someone else. So
Okay.
I think just the whole approach to everything now is so much more calculated. I think I'm a more of a calculated person because of the workouts. I feel like I'm more of a detailed person because of the workout. I feel like the person I was before, I wouldn't even. It would be so. I would be so much far advanced and so much more thoughtful about the things that I was doing just because of how much I've matured and how much I've progressed over those years. So I know it will be different now than it was then. But like you said, you can't go back in time. All you can do is, do the best you can do now.
Mm-hmm.
So just to get, by the way, I want to give you one example, and I can't remember, Elijah, if this was on your Instagram post or on David's, but you each doing 5-minute ISO extreme push-up with each of you standing on each other's back, right? Now, by the way, so we're talking about, am I correct on that, David? Did I say that correctly?
That is correct. Yes.
A
Yes,
5-minute ISO extreme push-up, all the way down, full, by the way, if anybody has not seen an ISO extreme push-up.
Yeah, lengthened position. Absolutely.
Fully lengthened position, standing on each other's back.
Well, seeking an even more lengthened, right? Continuously seeking an even more extreme, more vulnerable, weaker position, right?
And by the way, that's going to be one of those things that we're going to have to get back into because, by the way, if you're listening to this podcast, you will notice that, and this could be a frustration point for me and John, and that is, there was an audio issue with part 3 with David, Anyway, no fault of our, hopefully of our
Well,
own,
oh,
but
for fault of mine. Clearly, it was
not.
fault of mine. I take responsibility. I'm comfortable taking but we will make up for it gladly.
We'll make
Yeah,
up for it. Yeah.
but the whole point is though, it's like, but we want to get back into the meat and bones of that particular podcast, which is, I think Elijah, you just used the word preparation, or Dave, maybe it was you. Preparation. This whole, we're preparing you to fill in the blank, play pro football,
Yes.
be a dancer, be a singer, be an entertainer of some other part, be a
Yes.
business person.
The freedom to be able to display whatever you wish to display at whichever time you choose to display it at the highest level that you are prepared to recover from. That pretty much sums it up, and that can be applied towards any and everything, whether it's the field of football, a basketball court, tennis court, a boardroom, a classroom, personal relationships. It doesn't matter. It applies in any scenario, and whichever way you choose to apply it, that's what makes it this unique weapon that enhances your quality of life in every aspect that you allow it to.
So Elijah, now back to you. Sorry, John.
No, you're good. You're good. Go ahead. No.
But I mean, have you found that? I mean, what David just mentioned. I mean, have you found just in the time training with him that I'm, like you said, a totally different person now? I'm not. It's not just physical. This game is
So
beyond the purely physical.
what? And back to even the combine. I'll say I always had like this thing where I hated like combines from when I was a kid. I used to just like playing football because combine was too much thinking. It was I was like, it's not football. I used to get nervous and all this stuff now. And
It's the underwear Olympics.
yes, and
All right.
and now it's like I think it was because in football I didn't have to think and I could just go. And ever since this training, I'm able to call on that same type of non-thinking doing anything now. So instead of like I could play football and that was the only time I could just be natural and just let it all go. Now doing this training has allowed me the ability to call on it when I need to call on it. So I feel so much more prepared to do anything when I need to do it. And I can't wait till that even translates more into football. So it gives you so much more control, when you want to, whenever you want to, you know what I'm saying? I don't have to, it doesn't have to be once a week anymore. I can do it every single day. You know what I'm saying? It's interesting.
Yeah. So you are prepared, literally, whenever. All right. Yeah. Let's go.
Tomorrow, if someone, I feel so confident if someone called me tomorrow and asked me to go play in the Thursday night game with whatever team is playing, I feel confident that I can go and take 30 carries right now. And don't need anything else to do. I can wake up to continue my training the rest of the week, and on Thursday, if they call me, go in that day and play.
All right, GMs. Hey, NFL GMs, come on, guys. It's you heard it.
So, all right. So as you get started working with David and get into the system, and obviously, guys, if you haven't figured out and you haven't listened to the other episodes with David, clearly we all kind of do very similar things. I encourage you to listen to those other episodes with David. We use a lot of the Evo J. Schroeder type of mentality with stuff. So, but as you enter into this new system, I can't help but just know from experience that, in football, especially in the South, especially, like it's part of our culture almost, right? It's heavy squats, heavy bench, heavy cleans, And so what was for you, I guess, two-part question, what was one of the biggest hurdles for you to, I guess, either mentally or even physically, I guess, get over getting into the system? And because I know you had to have struggled with, or maybe not, but you had to have struggled with, well, man, shouldn't I be squatting super heavy? Because that's what I've always done. So what were some of those struggles on that first day?
The big one was like just thinking like, well, what am I going to do when I have to do that again? Like when I go with the team, I have to do their workout. So am I going to be able to continue? Are they going to think I'm weak because I haven't lifted in so long or blah, blah, blah. So after training with David, after my first summer of training with David, obviously when we first start, you still remember how to do the lift. So you don't fall off that much. But after my second year, which was COVID, I was in Atlanta the whole time. So me and David trained the whole year. And then it was funny when I went back up to train with the team, I hadn't lifted weights at all. And when I started lifting, it became easy. And everybody was hitting on me like, oh, you must have been lifting the whole off season. And I was like, you know what? I actually haven't touched the weight the whole off season. So it's crazy how much it translates without even trying. It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's one of the knocks on it is that, oh, well, I don't lift, so surely I'm gonna get weaker. And yeah, if you kind of like you said, like David said earlier, you get out of it what you want to get out, or what you're willing to get out of, you are willing to sacrifice or you must be willing to sacrifice what you are. Well, anyway, you guys know the statement here.
But go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry.
Oh no, go ahead, Dave.
No, I mean, because we're referencing the lifting part, and it's just we have a different mentality and view of what lifting should be and looks like and how it should be applied within a training program, right? It has to be executed in particular ways, and there are particular protocols and methodologies associated with it, and as well as there's particular execution that goes against the norm of what the traditional explanations of how particular exercises are designed to be performed, and that is a huge differentiator for how we do things versus how everyone else does things. What we look to call upon during certain exercises, when we do them, when we perform a squat, when we perform a bench press, when we perform a bicep curl or a lateral raise, it doesn't matter what it is. The things that we are looking to call upon and display during the execution of those movements is completely different than what is viewed as correct, or the way is executed in a traditional sports performance facility or strength and conditioning weight room across the country, whether it's on a collegiate level, high school level, professional level. It doesn't matter. There are different things, there are different traits that we are looking to call upon during those movements that no one else is and no one takes into account for.
So I want to go back. I'm gonna harbor this till I get the answer I want, Elijah. I've got a plan here. One of the funny things about my facility is like athletes are warned of just the notorious first day. It's like, it's hell. John's going to absolutely crush your soul, and you may not make it. What did you do? Do you remember your first day getting involved in this system?
The thing is, I don't think, like, for the first year, I think I got my soul crushed every day I went there.
That sounds about right, man. Yeah, that's about right, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, until very recently, I think I say this all the time. My ACL, when I tore my ACL, the monotonous of the everyday 5 minutes for at least, I mean, maybe 200 days straight, every workout was the same one. And it was just that monotonous of finally, like, understanding it and like not being afraid of it, knowing it's coming tomorrow. Like, not even, I'm texting David, like, what do I have today? I already know he's going to sit back, just that.
Right.
And just breaking that mindset. And then, like, after that, it like gave me this whole like new understanding of like what I'm willing to go through every day. Like, the 5 minutes is just the 5 minutes. Like, thinking of it like not of like, am I going to survive it? Of figuring out different ways to like to conquer it, to not be scared of it. It's like
that's
it's
a
a
really
way I
good
approached
point.
it changed.
Yeah, and how did you do that? Because I know there are a lot of athletes that struggle with that. They struggle with the monotony, and of course, it just feeds into our culture of ADD. Always got to be changing. But like, how did you go through that barrier?
I mean, I think about this a lot when I tore my ACL and talked to David that first day. He just asked me literally, "What do you want to do?" And I just looked at him and said, "I trust you, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to come back." And after making that statement, every day when I thought about like, damn, I'm tired, like, damn, it's the same thing. But I was like, I just told this man straight to his face that I was willing to do whatever it takes. And I told him that I trust him. So if I believe what I said to him, then I have to do what he says. You know what I'm saying? He's not saying this just to make me do it. You know what I'm saying? It's obviously, it's a system and he believes in it and I believe in him. So at this point, you know what I'm saying? We're going to do it. you know, and once I made that decision with myself, it's kind of been no going back.
Now, David, from the coach's side of stuff, how did you approach, a high level SEC athlete, NFL athlete? How did you approach this with him? And what were some of the challenges maybe that you saw as a coach trying to teach this system with somebody who had come kind of from a quote unquote old school traditional type of background?
As you guys know about the system doesn't discriminate about where you start from. Everyone starts from the same place. And, in our previous podcast, in our second episode, when you mentioned that a lot of people feel like there is no system. Well, there actually is a system, and there's phases and a progression, a very strategic progression based on mastery of each phase. And that unlocks the next level and the next level. So it prepares you for that next level of stress, that next level of being able to absorb extreme high levels of force at high velocities, at high volumes. And each phase, each stage prepares you for the next. So it's a very strategic, calculated system that is taking everything into account and into consideration. So when it came to Elijah, it didn't matter that he played SEC football, or he was an accountant up the street, or he was a stay-at-home housewife. Bottom line is, he was looking to unlock his genetic potential, right? And close the gap on that. And whether he's an SEC football player or a stay-at-home housewife, it doesn't matter. The foundation, the fundamentals all stay the same. And that's how we approached it. He didn't get a pass to a higher level, or a blue belt instead of a white belt, just because he played SEC football, just because he's Evander Holyfield's son, just because he was an athlete his whole life with tremendous accolades and accomplishments. We don't discriminate, right? Everyone starts at that same level, and you progress at whichever level that you're willing to sacrifice for.
And and so many of those levels. And by the way, I'm referring to a lot of athletes who think they're great. Okay, maybe they're not as good as they think they are. They're the ones I have found. This is my experience, that they're the ones who are more likely to go, I need something different. Way too soon. Way too soon. Like, they don't get anywhere near what they should out of ISO extreme lunge or whatever.
But what people don't understand, and I think this is something that Elijah has just recently started to grasp more and more, just because you've made 5 minutes in a particular exercise doesn't necessarily mean that you've made 5 minutes in a particular exercise. Doesn't mean that you've optimized it for everything that you were supposed to get out of it. And it's a continuing growth process, because through those 5 minutes, each time you're able to find a more extreme position, a more vulnerable position. You're able to discover more and more and more about yourself, about your capabilities, about how to activate and recruit muscle fibers and motor units, maintain calmness, and the ability to lengthen and shorten muscle groups at the correct time and in the correct sequence, without compensating, and maintaining relaxation and controlling your breathing and not being compromised. And I mean, all of these factors come into play. And right when you've made those 5 minutes for the first time, that's when the adventure has just begun, right? And now, can you do it over and over and over again? Can you do it before a training, before, hitting the field for whatever sport you're participating? Can you do it afterwards? Can you do it waking up at 3:30 in the morning, being pulled out of bed, and do it? Can you do it at any given time, no matter what exercises led up to those 5 minutes, no matter what exercises are following? Can you be consistent? Can you create this high level of proprioceptive awareness and coordination over this period of time that is necessary to be able to get exactly what it is that you're looking to get out of?
And thus Elijah saying, I could train on Wednesday night and be ready to play in a football game Thursday.
I mean, Elijah and
I'm
I
ready to
currently
go.
are training 3-4 times a day, right?
And
And a lot of those sessions incorporate the same exact exercises. Almost all of those sessions include a form of 5-minute eccentrics and isometrics. So, I mean, he's accumulating over 20 minutes damn near in every position every single day, in addition to all the other things that we incorporate, from altitude drops to rebounds to, and beyond, right? EDI, whatever.
so I kind of have 2 or 3 questions, but I want to go back to you made a statement, Elijah, that I think people that have only truly gone through the system, and maybe I'm wrong, but have only truly gone through the system for some type of athletic reason. Like, I am clearly nowhere near the level athlete you were. I made Division II basketball, and to say I played is a stretch, but I made it. But I went through the system, and I know what it did to my body. And I know the key thing that you said was the confidence. Like, it built something in me that nothing ever had. And I knew exactly my limitations. I knew what I could do in my limitations. And so it made me even a better, like a more strategic basketball player, because I knew, look, this guy is faster than me. It's just fact. So I know I've got to take different angles to cut him off or whatever it is. I'm very intrigued with hearing you. And I think there's a lot of people out there that say, oh, they know how to do ISOs and drops and all this stuff because they've listened to podcasts or, got different documents and stuff off the internet. But until you've truly gone through it and experienced it at all levels, I don't think you can appreciate how it really does change you inside. You know what I mean?
I mean, genuinely. I mean, I've always been a confident person playing football, but I've never been as confident as I am in myself at this moment in time. Just feeling
Yeah.
like I go out with people and it's just like, oh, if it came, it'd be bad. Like, that's all I could think in my head. It'd be bad if it came down to me and you, it'd be bad. That's the only thing
Yeah.
I can think. But it gives you it was so many areas in my game where I was weak that I was scared to go. That this gave me confidence to attack. Like in college, I only wanted to run the ball inside. I didn't want to do anything else. I didn't want to run out of the backfield. I didn't want to run routes. I was like, I wasn't good at it, so I didn't want to go attack it. This training makes you want to attack everything. I want to be, it's like, why can't I be great at everything? Yes, I can. You know what I'm saying? It changes that mindset of like, I'm scared. Well, no, I want to go see how I can do it. And then then this becomes like a thing where it's like, I think I can be perfect at it. When I go out there days, I want to be like, we throw 50 balls. I want to catch all 50 of them. If I catch 49 out of 50, the whole week it bothers me. I'm like, I got to figure out, because I know I can. The ability, just knowing that you can, is so much more. It's just like what he said about the 5 minutes. Once you do the first time, well, it's like tomorrow, if you don't do it, then well, you did it yesterday, so what happened today? So it's like the consistency of being able to do it today. And I think that's a big thing that David has taught me. It's like, it's not about doing it once or doing it this time and not being able to do it the second time. It's about consistently being able to put that product out there every single time you perform.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times
I can hear it in your voice. I can see it in your body language. And I don't know how many people could feel that and see it unless they've experienced and been through it. Like, I hear you. Like, I can see it in your face. Like, yeah, I'm ready to fucking go now. Let's go. Like, and that's something the system builds out of you. And it's just really cool.
Absolutely.
Well, I think our mentor Jay Schroeder. I mean, he was big on. He even used the word, we create Evo clones, meaning if you are willing to sacrifice to the level that you wish to succeed, that's exactly what you can expect to get out of it every single time. And I think that's really what David's been telling us, over these past several interviews. It's like, you can expect to get out of this exactly what you put into it. And if this is what you want, I want to be that I want to play in the NFL. I want to be able to do those things that I feel afraid to do. I was afraid to do last year. I want to be able to run outside. I want to be able to, catch passes out of the backfield, or, maybe for that person who has a hard time picking up the blitz or whatever. I don't want to be afraid of that. I want to be able to attack that. And so that's interesting, though, that that's not something I would have ever, having watched you play, I never would have dreamed that you would have been afraid of those things. But that is interesting now, just the overall confidence you say that that's given you, because that's like I said, those of us who are sitting there watching those games on the couch, like, oh please, he could go catch a pass. But that's fascinating, that you say, oh, that's not what I really want to do. I don't want to have that as part of my game. But now you want to move on to that next level. You can't be afraid of that anymore.
And what Elijah has shown, but Elijah has shown that in every team that he's been with through their preseason, leading the team in yards per carry and rushing and receiving out of the backfield and just showing it on a consistent basis for those teams. But through the training, we've created the capacity for Elijah to go out there and put forth the work that is necessary to achieve those things, because he now has the capacity and capability of recovering from what he wishes to display and from the work that he's willing to put forth and put in order to achieve what he's looking to achieve.
People are going to ask about the recovery component to this, especially if they've listened to some of the other episodes, David, where you've brought that element up. I want to hear kind of both your sides on it. Elijah, how you feel, how you feel this system helps in your recovery and ability to just immediately perform. David, I want to hear you expand on that a little bit more, because I think everybody still thinks just output, but we got to have recovery, and the body's got to be able to be prepared for the stimulus and recoup from it before the next one.
We were just Elijah and I were actually just discussing it this morning after leaving our training session, about how quickly you're able to recover from what it is you just displayed, no matter how stressful, no matter how scary, no matter how high impact, no matter how neurologically taxing it is. And that's the beauty of it. And it's a progressive process, right? It takes time, but the objective is to have regenerative type of recovery to where you're recovering. The objective is to be able to recover at the same rate at which you display and perform. And when I say that, people think it's absolutely ludicrous and crazy and unimaginable, but that's exactly what we're pursuing, and that's what we're working towards with the work that we're putting forth.
It's because
right?
people associate recovery with rest or cryotherapy or Normatec or whatever.
Exactly, right? They separate the two, right? Whereas we're preparing to be able to recover from the stimulus and the stress that we're exposed to, while they are exposing themselves to a stimulus and stress that they are not prepared to recover from, then have to separately try to figure out how to recover from what it is that they expose themselves to, that in the first hand they had no business executing and performing, because they were not prepared to get and receive what they were supposed to get out of it in the first place. So it's just a bunch of people doing a bunch of bullshit during the training, after the training, before the training, and making themselves feel good by,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think even the word recovery in this system is actually misused. Because
we're looking at we're looking to create a higher level of efficiency, neuromuscular efficiency, so that if our body responds, performs, and executes our movements the way it's intended to perform and execute throughout the course of the day, no matter what the activity is, then we will be able to instantaneously recover from whatever it is we wish to display. If our bicep is functioning correctly in sequence with our tricep and is lengthening and shortening in the correct sequence at the right time, right? It creates an instantaneous efficiency and ability to not be negatively impacted by the forces and stress that you are exposed to.
That's what I was hoping you would get into and say right there.
Right? Because here's the thing, when you, and Elijah and I, talk about it quite a bit, right? Because in a lot of cases, people are using the same muscles that they're utilizing to to lift the concentrically execute the exercise as they are to eccentrically execute the movement. And what they don't realize is particular muscles are designed to lengthen in a particular movement, and they're designed to shorten in a particular movement, and their responsibilities change. The quadricep extends the leg, right? Extends the knee. The hamstring, curls it, right? So it 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 contracts it. So it's in order for you to optimize your performance, your ability to recover, your ability to execute at a higher level, the function of what the job of these particular muscle fibers and motor units are intended to do has to be optimized and reprogrammed to function correctly. Otherwise, you're doing through practice and through conditioning is perfecting imperfections and getting better, right, at compensation patterns that are not only going to lead to detrimental performance, but are going to eventually lead to a higher level of risk of injury and long term potentially to degenerative issues and dealing with all kinds of physiological disorders and neurological disorders long term, right? From osteoarthritis to dementia to Alzheimer's. Listen, the things that we do now today have a direct correlation with how we're going to feel in 5 weeks, in 5 years, in 50 years. And people don't understand that. They think a rep is just a rep. They think an exercise is just an exercise. They think whatever it is just whatever it is. And there's so much more to it.
So now, Elijah, how do you blend this system with, say, some of your skill work? Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it's again preparing to be able to recover, right? And if you just listen to what's out there in society, through daily conversations that you may be surrounded by or interact or hear in passing, how often during the course of the day do you hear someone around you say, "Oh man, I'm so tired, I'm exhausted, or I'm drained, or this hurts, or that bothers me, or this"? The objective is so that you never feel those things. So that and what happens with the system is the more that you dive into it and the deeper you get into it, the more unrelatable you become. You can no longer relate with traditional society standards and norms because we're trying to set new standards, create new norms, create new. There are no limits, right? It's progressive. It's there is no. We just want to hold on to our gains or maintain. Fuck maintaining. There is no room for maintaining.
Right.
And if that's what your objective is with your athlete, during the course of a season, it's you're doing them a disservice, and you're basically saying that in September you're hoping that by January, right, they're just as good as they were in September, or hanging on to whatever they could from September to January. And that's absurd. Why are they not stronger in January? Why are they not more efficient? Why are they not quicker? Why are they not absorbing force and creating force better? Why are they not faster? Why are they not recovering faster? Why are they not sleeping better? Why are they not all of these things than they were in September? Because it's January.
Mm-hmm.
If they're not, then you're wasting their time, you're wasting your time, and you should be a barista at Starbucks.
Man, you made a super profound statement with that. I love the fact that you say, you separate yourself from society, or you enter this no man's land where you just can't relate, right? And I'm just glad to hear you say that, because I know, Elijah, I see you shaking your head. I know you know what that is, and I've seen it. I've been through it. And I think that's a really good sign. That means you're progressing and growing when you enter no man's land.
I mean, Elijah and I have had this conversation numerous times, right? I mean, around his circle and other athletes, pro and college. I mean, if you want to elaborate on that, Elijah.
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, I'd love to hear a couple of stories like that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you
So
may
Elijah,
have. Go ahead,
Elijah,
David.
how in college you weighed what? How much did you weigh when you played? Two.
yeah.
All right.
Well.
So
And
go.
and here's a guy that he's bigger than he was in college, right? He's in the mid 230s, pushing 240, been clocked at over 22 miles per hour. And to put things in perspective, Tyreek Hill is the fastest player recorded on the field this year, and he was clocked in the high 21s, right? So Elijah's at 30, 40 pounds heavier than Tyreek, running at comparable, miles per hour.
Mm-hmm. All right. So Elijah, I want to ask you this, and we are on a little bit of a time crunch. I apologize to our audience, but today is just kind of one of those unique days. So I want to wrap it up here. Hopefully we can get you back on, dig a little bit deeper. But if you can if you can give some of these athletes, regardless of what part of their journey that they're on, maybe they're where you are, maybe they're in college, maybe they're in high school trying to get to college, and maybe they're experiencing this system and some of the challenges that you have come against in this system or in your journey. What's a piece of advice you would give these kids? I love it, man.
Amen.
I love
Amen.
it. That's awesome. Well, Elijah, man, it's been awesome to meet you. I greatly appreciate you taking the time to join us and everything you shared. David, it's always a pleasure, my man. Guys, I really
both.
do hope we can do this again. And, selfishly, as a Giants lifelong fan, I would love to see you in Giants blue one day. That'd be great, bro.
Yeah.
So, it'd be awesome.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well,
thank
hey, man,
you guys very
again,
much.
appreciate it. All right, guys, that's going to be the show today. Share it. Bring us a friend. And appreciate you guys. Love you guys. We'll talk to you soon.